Our line panel counted down our top stories of 2014 in recent weeks. Many of those stories will continue to evolve in the coming year. So let's turn now to our panelists to get their predictions right now for 2015. With us, we have Patrick Malone, a reporter with the Santa Fe New Mexican, Rachel Sams, editor of Albuquerque Business First, Gwyneth Dolan, a correspondent here on New Mexico in Focus and a journalism professor at the University of New Mexico, and reporter Russell Contreras from the Associated Press. Russell, I'm going to start with you. Simple question. What news stories do you see leading the pack in 2015? What's bubbling out there for you?
Oh, I think we'll see the federal monitor with the APD, the Albuquerque Police, come in, and I think we're going to see some different reforms. You may see some more leadership changes, and at APD. And I think that the community response will be different. This will be a make or break year to see what direction we're going.
I want to stay with you on that for a quick second because you said something. Expand on your first point there. That was interesting to me. The idea that you have. Oh, what was your second point? Leadership changes. Sorry, that was your second one. What possibly could change? Gordon Eads, or what do you think would happen?
Well, I think it's going to be some restructuring. We're starting to see some of that as you have a new department, new infrastructure. The duties are going to change. Some people say, well, I not want to do this. It's going to happen organically. It's not something that's going to be imposed. It may be imposed. So, some of our old units are being disbanded. So what's going to happen? What other? And are we going to see, what does the federal monitor say about the way we handle mental health?
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point. Right, Rachel Sams, for you, we'll start with a simple question. What's your predictions for the coming year? What's bubbling for you?
Sure, I've got a couple. I will be very interested to see how things play out this year for Mayor Berry. This is a very high stakes year for him. He pretty much cruised to re-election and looked like smooth sailing, and then as things really, as the heat really built with APD, that is an issue that in and of itself is so huge. Even just tackling that this year would be enormous. Berry's also taken on some pretty ambitious economic projects as well, trying to get Innovate ABQ off the ground. This will be a big year for that too. So he's got a lot on his plate this year.
Interesting. Restructuring downtown, all kinds of small things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Patrick Malone, 2015, what do you think?
Well, I think we're going to hopefully see some answers to the questions that have been burning in all our minds about the truth behind the behavioral health shakeup here in New Mexico. I think Hector Balderas has really played that up during his campaign to become Attorney General. He says he's going to prioritize it. Hopefully, we get a clearer picture of what happened or what didn't happen there. I also think that there's going to be some discussion around the $2.2 billion private contract to operate Los Alamos National Laboratory. I think that that's on the line. I mean, some of the folks that are really want the heads of these folks at the lab have talked about a Rocky Flats style FBI raid that could go down. And I think that might be reaching a little far, but I think there will be some serious discussions about whether these folks are worthy of continuing to run the lab. And I think the third prediction that I've got is something that probably won't happen, and that's a major policy shift at the state legislature here in New Mexico. Despite the Republican overtake of the House, first time in 60 years, there's still that Senate backstop, and outside of the budget, where I do think there needs to be some middle ground, and we will see a Republican thumbprint on that, I don't see them imposing their will as long as the Senate is held by Democrats.
Very interesting. I want to come back to the legislature. You teed us up well there. Gwyneth, your overall predictions for 2015, what do you think?
Sex, drugs, violence, and greed.
Why? Are you talking legislature again, or what's going on?
That's always what the lid. No,
Okay.
I'm talking about looking at this Department of Justice investigation of sexual assault at UNM and how UNM continues its efforts proactively to talk about that. The efforts to legalize pot, which we're going to see, but also changes in the medical marijuana program, I think we'll be looking at more. The Albuquerque Police Department, and I'll be looking at how the relationship between the community and the police changes as these new elements are implemented. And I'm looking forward to my iWatch.
I want one too. I want the number two. You get number one, I want the second one. Let's talk about the legislature. It's coming up soon, as we know, and Patrick got us going. Russell, let me ask you first. The open question about predictions with a new makeup in the House, certainly we have new leadership on both sides, the majority and the minority in the House. Any predictions on where you see things sort of tilting at this point? No one's really given up their hand yet, but beyond the obvious of going after Republican issues that have been sort of laying fallow. What do you think for the legislature coming up?
It could possibly come to an agreement on mental health. We talked about the Kindra's Law, the law
right.
that would take patients, get them court-ordered, forcible treatment, outpatient treatment. That's a possibility. I think maybe some ed reforms. There's still going to be some resistance with the Democratic Senate. There may be something there. But I think in general, they're all going to be cooperative. They're all going to come together. They're all going to be, well, that's a joke.
I was waiting to see where that was going.
No. But that could be, and possibly some reform on some PRC reform. That's still, that has not been addressed.
Interesting.
And that's still the big elephant in the room.
Right. Let me stay with you on that one too, because it's interesting to hear you say this. I'm curious how Democrats approach this, being in the minority in the House. I know it's impossible to predict, but they have a couple of moves. They can either cooperate, as you were joking there a second ago, or not, profoundly not, and try to make some political headway there. Is there room in there for them to do that, to just say no to everything and try to ride it out for the next 2 years?
They do that, they become the party of no in the state. They have the Senate to do that. So I think they may throw that political capital their way.
Okay.
And then look at ways that they can. Now, they don't know how to behave. They've never been in the majority.
That's right.
In the minority here in 60 years. The only one that has been in the majority in the Republican side is Andy Nunes, because he used to be a Democrat. But he's the only one that knows how to act. As someone joked him, he's the only one that knows how to act. So you're going to see some really rough bumps in the road on both sides because the roles have changed. There may have been some bent up animosity, saying I've been in the minority role this long, and now I'm the big dog on the block, so I may have to do a little pushing. But in the end, they're going to have, regardless, they're not going to have to come together. Nothing's going to get done.
Sure, exactly right. I like how Russell says, Rachel Sams, that they're learning how to be in the minority. Democrats, well, Republicans have to learn how to lead this time around too. It's interesting, isn't it? That comes with different responsibilities and such.
It is really interesting, very much so. I'm hearing a lot of interest in the business community, wondering whether the shift in the House is going to mean more likelihood of right to work.
Right.
That's something that a lot of business people are interested in for economic development purposes. I think the wild card here over the whole session is the falling budget estimates because of the oil prices. Now you have two parties in opposition, and you have very little money to fight over. So that could set up a year when not much happens.
That's an interesting point. Our colleague Dan Foley sat here at this table quite a number of weeks ago and said, look, we've got to get past this system, Gwyneth Dolan, of predicting in February what oil prices are going to be the following August, and determining state budgets from that. It just doesn't work. Pick up on what Rachel said about if we have less money to work with, does this give the no faction more ammunition to work with?
Yeah, I mean, this is a regular and fairly predictable cycle of we have more money, we have less money, we have more money, we have less. And I think everybody knows that these folks are capable of understanding that and reacting to it. Less happens when there's less money, and it could just be a really boring session.
You've covered a lot of them, right? You know what I mean? You know the good ones from the bad ones, exactly. Legislate, you touch on this a little bit, get us going, Patrick, but I'm interested in this idea with about a minute here about leadership on the Republican side. What do you predict there in leading, so to speak?
Sure. I think that really remains to be seen. Tripp, who's likely to be the speaker, he's a known quantity, and he's somebody that a lot of Democrats don't detest, so that goes well for him.
That's right.
But we also have 20, practically, just under 20 new people coming into the House of Representatives. And what are we going to see from them? Are we going to see a neocon posture? Are we going to see a district-centric posture? A lot of questions still.
There you go, exactly right. Thank you all for being here. And with the new year, we also welcome our new producer, Sarah Gustavus. We love her, a veteran of public media, and we're so glad to have her on board. And we say farewell to producer Megan Kemrick. She moves back to the show Public Square, which you can catch on the last Thursday of every month right here on KNME. Thanks for kicking off the new year with us here at New Mexico in Focus. And as always, we appreciate your time and your effort to stay informed and engaged. Keep up with us on social media by searching for New Mexico in Focus, and find archived interviews and bonus material by surfing over to our YouTube channel or to NewMexicoInFocus.org. I'm Gene Grant. Happy New Year to you all. We'll see you next week in Focus.